This is a Dell Dimension L700cx Mini-tower computer, and manufactured in 1999. It was made right around the time when Dell was trying to make a computer for everybody instead of the $2,000 computer that was designed for just about anybody that could afford it. This was a low-cost, low-budget computer designed, again, for everybody. This particular one uses the case style. I don't remember what the case style is called, but this was used in many models of the Dimension series, up until I believe the 2400, when they switched over to Pentium 4s. This particular one is sporting an Intel Celeron processor, clocked at 700 MHz. It was designed for NT 2000 and of course 98, which is what it shipped with. I do not believe it still has Windows 98. This was used in at a YMCA close to me, and I'm assuming it was upgraded because it was used up until about 2008 before it was retired. The front of the machine was pretty standard for the time. It included a CD reader, floppy drive, power button and hard drive indicator of course, and a little air intake that kind of baffles me because it's behind the hard drive where not a whole lot of air can get through, but I do imagine it was necessary because the air has to come from somewhere to go out the back. And this machine, like many others that use the same case design, feature the toolless side panel removal, where you flip back that and pull the side panel off. The back of the machine is pretty standard, again, for the time period. The only interesting thing is that it features an onboard Ethernet controller, as most of the machines of the time didn't feature that. It also features a NIC card, which I believe was an expansion at a later date. It didn't come from Dell. And this machine has been worked on before. As you can tell, it's missing a slot cover, and it has that NIC card inside. I also believe that the RAM has been upgraded to something more than just the base 64 megs, and I'll get into that in just one moment. The L700cx, as many of the Dell Dimensions of the time period featured, has a swing-out power supply, which is very difficult to do one-handed, and is also kind of a pain in the ass because the cables get caught on little retention things, but it swings out, which again, completely toolless. Inside it's got a little heatsink on there with what seems to be a properly clogged fan. Underneath is a 700 MHz Celeron. There are 2 sticks of RAM in here, which I do believe have been upgraded since the machine has come from the factory. Originally it shipped with 1 stick of 64 meg SD RAM, and this has 128 megs total, 2 128 sticks. So that's definitely been upgraded, so I'm going to assume, without having started this up yet, that this very well may be running Windows XP. Like many other Dells of the time, it features this, what is in my opinion, a rather stupid 6-pin connector that I do believe powers the PCI ports, so unfortunately it's both entirely necessary and a pain in the ass to replicate if you have to swap out a power supply in one of these. The hard drive in here seems to be the original 20 gig Maxtor drive, which I would assume to be very, very loud at this point, as it is, 16 or 17 years old at this point. The rest of the case, really not that much to mention. All the caps are in good condition, which is excellent. And there's the slim NIC card in there. So, I haven't booted this thing up yet, but I'm going to do that in just a second, and we'll see how that goes. Well, I didn't have much time to record that. I plugged it in and it immediately turned on. And there we can see the system specifications. It's got 256 megs of RAM, 700 MHz Celeron, featuring, I think that's a 20 gig drive. And honestly, I don't know why it's still hung up here, because I didn't press anything on the keyboard, but I'll press delete in just a second. Seems to be the original Dell installation. And it's running something, Windows XP. After about 4 minutes, it finally got past the Windows loading screen, and now it's at this point. So do Alt-Control-Delete, and I think I have the password written down somewhere here. It was actually written down on a little index card. I don't care if you see the password. Again, this was owned by a local YMCA. It looks like they had some very good security, as this was taped right there when I got it. So let's type in YEmployee123, hit enter, and then probably wait a couple more minutes. Maybe not, maybe it's going to load properly. Alright, after about 7 minutes, I finally have a taskbar, and I'd be willing to bet that this hard drive is completely toast. And I'm not surprised if that would be the reason why this was thrown out, because it just wasn't worth putting the money into buying an IDE hard drive. Well, after a total of 6.5 minutes, this thing finally booted up to the Windows desktop. And unfortunately, there's really not that much on here, and I don't know what this was actually used for. All it has for programs are Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Publisher, and Adobe Reader 8, and that's it. So, might have been used as a secretary's machine, but that's really it. Now, I'd be willing to bet that this 20 gig hard drive is bad, because when I opened up Explorer, it took about 2.5 minutes. So I'm going to test that, and it's probably going to be bad, but I'll end up throwing that hard drive out, most likely just because it's pretty loud and making some clicking noises. I don't want to deal with it. So there you go. That is a Dell Dimension L700cx. Thanks for watching, and hope you enjoyed.